Hello, my name is Pit or Jan Pitikopelen. When I learned about the existence of toki pona about 6 days ago, I was so overtaken by it that I practically haven't slept since then. And as I've been practicing it non-stop for about 6 days now, I have literally driven everyone around me crazy with it. If you happen to have stumbled on this video without knowing what toki pona is, it's roughly a minimalist, constructed language developed by Canadian linguist Sonja Lang. This language consists of only 130 words, more or less, but you can still express anything in this language, just like any other language. Isn't that amazing? It's amazing. You can do this as long as you are prepared to think in a slightly different way, where you focus on filtering out the unnecessary details. Doing this improves your mental state and processes and could even help you improve your mental health. I am going to use this channel to practice along with you. In this video today, I'm going to tell you an original story about an insect mutiny. And I will do 3 things. First, I will read it at speed for advanced listeners. Then I will repeat it a bit slower with subtitles or explanations. And thirdly, I will go through everything again with translations and some discussion. Let's make a deal. I am camera shy. If you find any benefit in these videos, if you learn anything useful from them, if you find the practice pleasant and helpful, please express that by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. That will encourage me immensely to make more of these. Also, if you think a transcript of these stories will be useful, you can receive them by subscribing to my mailing list. There's a link for that down below in the description. But enough with the kokosila. Mutiny on the leaf. Utala lon lipukasi. Tenpo pinimutela, pipimute litava lon lipukasi lon telolinia. Ona liala saemo kupona suila. Ona muteliwile tava lon selo ante pitelo linia wawa. Kulupu pipi liyo e pipi lava sulivan e pipi pale mute. Telo linia liwawa limon sutala lava litokieni. Pipi pale li pale pona alala mi moli e ona. Mi ale o pale pona tawa ken kamalon selo ante pitelo linia. Pipi pale li pilinike li pilin mon suta. Ona li lukine ona sama. Nila pipi palinan pawan li tokieni kepeken mulili. Nlava liike. Mimote o moli e ona. Mimute pale ala e nila mi moli. Tenponi pipi pale ale li tawa lava kepeken uutta la wawa suli. Ona li moli lava. Lava li pakala la pelon mapi li pukasi. Pipi pali li avan lukin, kepeken lukin sike suli. Pipi lava li moli, li panatelo kulo tan lukinona. Tenpo samala, telo linea li kama wawa mute. Telo li sewi li tawa poka pipi pali. Nila pipi pali li tawa insa telo. Telo li moli e pipi pale ale. Weka lela li pukasitaso li lontelo. Tenpo pinimute la, pipimute li tavalon li pukasi lontelo linia. Ona li ala saemo kupona suila. Ona muteliwile tavalon selo ante pitelo linia wawa. Kulupu pipi liyo e pipi lava sulivan e pipi pale mute. telo linya li wawa, li monsutala, lawa li toki eni. Pipi pali li pali pona alala, mi moli e ona. Mi ale o pali pona, tawa ken kamalon selo ante pitelo linya. Pipi pali li pilinike, li pilin monsuta. Ona li lukine ona sama. Nila, pipi palinan pawan li toki eni, kepeken mulili. Lava liike. Mimote o moli e ona. Mimute pale ala e nila mi moli. Tenponi, pipi pali ale li tawa lava kepeken uutta la wawa suli. Ona li moli e lava. Lava li pakala la pelon mapi li pukasi. Pipi pali li awan lukin, kepeken lukin sike suli. Pipi lava li moli, li panatelo kulo tan lukinona. Tenpo samala, telo linja li kama wawa mute. Telo li sewi li tawa poka pipi pali. Nila, pipi pali li tawa insa telo. Telo li moli e pipi pali ale. Weka lela li pukasitaso li lontelo. So back to the cluttered and baggage-ridden colonial language, English, and see what the first part of the story, the dilemma, means. Long ago, countless insects lived upon a floating leaf of grass, drifting in the flowing river. They sought the sweetest food, yet when the search grew difficult, they longed for another shore. Among them was one great leader, guiding many tireless workers. So there are 3 sentences we want to translate, or 3 ideas. We simplify the sentences from the fairly poetic translation, remove all the fluff, and then as the first sentence we get, a long time ago, some insects were drifting on a leaf on a river. Now, this sentence is perfect for translation because it's very easy to see all the parts of speech here. So let's start with the first one, the context, which is in this sentence, a long time ago. And we do the translation by starting with tempo, because that's going to be our main content or main word there. We modify it with pini mute, a long time ago. And then finally we add la to indicate the end of the context. So on to the subject, some insects, pini mute, mute because it's more than 2, it's a handful of insects. And we start the predicate with li. The predicate in this sentence is we're drifting on a leaf on a river. We're drifting. We can use our word for movement there, tawa, and then on a leaf on a river. Lon lipokasi, lon telolinya. The next sentence is, since they are on the lookout for delicious food, they decide to sail to the opposite shore of the wild river. And what a sentence it is. It's full of parts of speech, just about all of them. And this is where things turn a little sinister. It may sound like it's just them looking for delicacies, but we'll find out later in the story that it's actually a matter of life and death. We can see that there is a context in this sentence, since they are on the lookout for delicious food. The difference here is that the context has a subject, a predicate, and an object in itself. We can translate the subject of this context as pona, they, and start the predicate with li. Then on the lookout for, and we have a great word for on the lookout for in toki pona, which is alasa. We'll use that to indicate what they are doing. And then we have the object of this context, which is delicious food, and we introduce that with e, moku pona sui. Then finally we close the context with la. The remainder of the sentence consists of a simple subject, they, and then one hell of a predicate and no object. So the subject is simple, with one choice of using mute as well, because it's all of them deciding to go. It's not a matter of them being told that they need to leave their familiar ground. I've translated that as ona mute, and start the predicate with leave. Decide to sail, I've translated as wile tawa. There's a bit of nuance in there, because I could have used kama lon, to arrive at the opposite shore of the river, but I've gone for tawa lon, because it's a matter of going and then being there and walking around on the other side. So that's why I also included lon. Then after lon, we have selo ante, let's say the edge, the other edge, and then pi to further modify this, and that's followed by telo linea, river, wawa, which adds the sense that the river is wild. It's a dangerous journey. And the last sentence of this part. The group of insects consists of a leader and worker insects. The subject here is the group of insects, kulupu pipi. Predicate starts with li. Consists can be translated as yo. And then we use the interesting feature where we can introduce two objects with repeated e phrases. E pipilawa suliwan, e pipipalimute, a leader and worker insects. Every story needs a bit of conflict, and this one's no different. You find that in the second part, the leader's warning. But the river was strong, the river was fierce, and so the leader spoke. If the workers fail in their task, I shall strike them down. Work well, all of you, or perish in the current. To prime our first sentence for translation, we simplify it like this. Because the river is strong and terrifying, the leader says this. So first of all, we can clearly spot a context because the river is strong and terrifying. But what is interesting about this context is that it has a subject and two predicates. So we start with the subject, the river, telolinya, and then we introduce two predicates with li, liwawa, limonsuta, and we end the context with la. And the rest is really easy. It's the subject, leader, which is lawa. The predicate says li toki, and object this, any. In my view, this is the highlight of the story. Just like toki pona allows you to create a microcosmos inside a bigger world, this sentence represents the highest point in the little story and is so pivotal that everything after it is just a downward spiral of doom. If the worker insects do not work well, I will kill them. Starting with the context, If the worker insects do not work well, we can see that there is a subject and a predicate. Subject is the worker insects, pipi pali, and we start the predicate with li, do not work well. We can translate that with pali, pona, ala, and end the context with la. Then in the main sentence, we have a very clear subject, predicate, and object. The subject is I, me, the predicate is will kill, and them is the subject, eona, and we add a for that native spark. Now the leader emphasizes that their cooperation is paramount to their survival in the next sentence. All of us must work well so that we can reach the opposite shore of the river. I want to highlight only two things in this translation. The first is how we use o instead of li to start the predicate to express obligation. The second thing is how we translate that we can reach with tawa, ken, kama, followed by lon. In the next part, fear and obedience, they, of course, decide to kill their leader, something they will come to regret later. I am going to ask you now to do the translations yourself. I will pause on each slide. You can even pause the video while you do it, and I'll provide numbers at the top of the page which you can use to give the corresponding answers in the comment section. Now we have the murder scene, the uprising. With great force, the workers rose against their leader. They struck with all their might, and the leader fell, lifeless, upon the floating leaf. In this part, I want to focus your attention on only one sentence. This one. Have a look and tell me in the comments, using number 7, what is wrong with the translation. Let's go through these last two parts super quickly, Kepikin Tenpolili as it were, and have a quick look at the translation. The workers stared, eyes wide, watching in silence. From the leader's gaze, deep red tears began to flow, and at that very moment the river surged. The water swelled, rising high, rushing past the trembling insects. One by one, they were swept into the depths. One by one, they disappeared beneath the waves. In the end, nothing remained upon the water. Nothing but the drifting leaf, alone in the endless current. So if you have watched up to this point, you are very, very dedicated. Thanks very much for watching. Consider liking the video, subscribing to my channel to encourage me to do some more of these. Thanks very much and hope to see you soon. Toki.